what has changed tremendously since May of this year is that every time they've attacked, gold and silver have come back. In years past, when they attacked like this, we'd be in a dumpster and for months or years. This time, they attack, it comes back.
Welcome back to financeandliberty.com. We have a returning guest who's been with us before to talk about the Gold Antitrust Action Committee, GATA.org. This is Bill Murphy. Bill, thanks for joining us this Wednesday, November 6th, 2019.
My pleasure, Donegan. Thanks for having me back.
We wanted to get back with you because there was that big expose that came out from the Department of Justice about a month ago, indicting three traders, or a number of traders at JP Morgan's gold and silver trading desk, saying it was a criminal enterprise, etc. And first of all, if we could follow up with you on that, because GATA has been saying that for years, if not decades. So finally, some of the actual our officialdom is agreeing with you. Has anything come of it?
Well, it's just typical for what happens in this kind of thing. You know, I mean, it's one of the most astounding claims I've ever heard in the financial markets, and now it's just gone silent. Nothing. It's like these other lawsuits and other these traders of J.P. Morgan, other ones that have been charged. It just kind of disappears, and it's all part of the shtick, you might say, where they go after some individuals, but they don't go after J.P. Morgan itself for what they're doing. I mean, how can they have not known this? In that news piece, it was 5 years that this was going on, at least that they covered. And yet, so what? Just goes back to business as normal. And what we saw on Monday in terms of the, or yesterday, the bombing of the market and Tuesday was just absurdly obvious. There was no reason for gold and silver to get slaughtered like they were. And it was just the bad guys taking the price down again.
Often it's been the case that, the market cash flows are either into risk-on trades with the equities markets or risk-off and into precious metals, for example. And certainly there's been some volatility. But what are you seeing as far as the interplays of capital flows between the stocks, bonds, and precious metals over the past month or so?
Well, it's interesting because actually the fear trade, or when the stock market all of a sudden goes down sharply, the bids come into gold like crazy, much more than I've ever seen ever. And that's what can change things should we have a big flush in the stock market, because every time the stock market gets weak, gold and silver get strong. And I think, what part of the reasons is because interest rates are at zero, in many places are negative or near zero. People want to move into gold and silver. They can see what's coming. The fundamentals could not be more bullish. And the fact that gold is held up very well, considering the stock market's at all-time highs and the dollar is back where it was a year ago when gold was 300 lower, really bodes well for the future.
Speaking of some things that have been going on recently that are different, the Fed has been doing these bond repo actions for the past 2 months now and expecting to continue at least for the next 2 months, if not beyond that, to the tune of 75 to some say over $100 billion per night. What does that mean to you? What is your takeaway on that as somebody who's watched the financial markets for a long, long time?
There's a big problem someplace, and they just don't want anybody to know about it. At first, they said $75 billion a day was the limit. Now it's $120 billion. That's a lot of money to be thrown out there for whatever reason. Why have we have not heard about this much at all? And all of a sudden, it's a big deal, and what they initially came up with wasn't even enough. So again, there's something very wrong behind the scenes, and maybe one day we're going to find out what that is. They're trying to keep that from surfacing, but I don't know.
Yeah, we certainly had seen back at the beginning of the year, after the worst December on record, was that interbank lending had basically just fallen off a cliff. And we had Bix Weir on recently talking about even the banks don't trust each other anymore. So that seize up of the overnight lending and the credit market between the banks, it seems to be telling. If you have to go to Big Daddy to flood the grease the wheels between the banks with extra liquidity every night because the banks don't want to, if that's drying up, it makes it wondering, what about the little guys? What should we be doing as far as trusting the banks?
Well, it's a very good point. Vic's a smart guy, and all I can say is I'd like to also bring in that was exactly when Secretary Mnuchin called in the plunge protection team, and he said that publicly. That's not GATA making it up and some conspiracy thing that they're going to boost the markets. Treasury Secretary made a public statement. Of course, no one's ever talked about it since. But every time there's a correction in the stock market, boom, right back up. Boom, right back up. Boom, right back up. Yes, he called in the plunge protection team, and that's what's going on.
So desperate times call for desperate measures. Meanwhile, you say, nothing to see here, folks. Just move on. Everything's fine. Strongest market and strongest economy in history.
That's exactly what they keep putting out there. And that's exactly what they want everyone to think, and it's working so far.
Well, maybe not for viewers of this channel because we were bringing a different sidelight onto here. You recently returned, we were talking about it before we started the recording, from the New Orleans Investors Conference. And you said something has changed this year that you noticed. What was that?
Well, first of all, it's Brian London, and yes, it's the New Orleans Investment Conference, and I want to salute Brian for doing a great job. He brings in all kinds of speakers, not only gold and silver, but the financial markets and all sorts of well-known figures. And what was at least very interesting for GATA was that the criticism is drying up about GATA, or people come out and publish it, well, I don't want to talk about it anymore because of there's so much that's come out. They've given up, taking us on and saying that we're wrong. They just don't go there. And it's created a lot more attention for GATA and people to understand what we've been talking about for 2 decades.
You know, I remember, and I've got to look up who this, there was a saying by a well-known writer who said, when you first come out with revolutionary truth, some people will say, it's not true. And after its truth can no longer be denied, they'll say, well, it's not important. And after its importance is absolutely proven, they'll say, well, after all, it's not new.
I think you might even in a different way, but that sounds a little bit like Gandhi.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I phrased it wrong, but it seems like people...
No. It was the kind of thing that he said the same thing. Then they said you were right all along.
Yeah. Yeah, but now they don't want to talk about it because they're sick of hearing about it. And if we could turn on our attention to some viewers' questions, we have a whole bunch of them that have been submitted for you, and you're able to field these quite well. One question that comes up a lot, this is from Dr. Collapse. How much longer is the cabal going to be able to suppress real money, gold and silver?
Well, of course, that's the $64,000 question. And what has changed tremendously since May of this year is that every time they've attacked, gold and silver have come back. In years past, when they attacked like this, we'd be in a dumpster and for months or years. This time, they attack, it comes back. And it's just, now we got this recent attack yesterday. It came back again today. We'll see if that continues. But there's a tremendous buying, taking on the bad guys, as I call them, the gold cartel, because the open interest in gold has gone to an all-time high by some almost more than 20,000 contracts. Silver's only 10 or 20,000 contracts from its all-time high. Combined, they are at an all-time high. In other words, the buying keeps coming in, and this gold cartel keeps selling and selling. It's all going to depend on the physical market, and that's where this fear trade can really help things out. If the physical market continues to be firm, they're just not going to be able to flush these speculators out, and we could have a commercial signal failure, which means that the shorts are forced to cover or get out, or they take just a massive defeat. And we just don't know when that's going to be because it's probably going to come out of nowhere. But I can say this, that since May, the end of May of this year, gold is traded totally differently.
Stephen McSweeney says, does Bill see brokerage houses' counterparty risk as highly dangerous?
It's another good question. Some will be. I don't recall. It depends upon the insurance. But when the other brokerage, when Bear Stearns went under, I think everybody was covered. I don't, because of the laws and so on, and some other, and also Bear Stearns getting taken over or their account. So, but if you have involved in a small firm, it just goes belly up, and there isn't the proper coverage somehow. I mean, anything can happen.
We have a question from Rigor4830 who says, after a crash or a reset, would junk silver be the most important to have for buying day-to-day necessities after paper money is no longer accepted?
Well, I guess that depends upon how you look at it, where you're from, and so on. And again, it's a good thought. But all I know is, what I think I know, silver is the cheapest asset in the world. And what J.P. Morgan has done with this is an outrage. And for it to be at 1750, is a joke. It's equal to gold. It should be $10 higher right now to be with a normal relationship with gold. So at some point, this massive manipulation of the silver market is going to lead to an explosion of the silver market like we've never seen before, the silver price. That I'm pretty confident of. The timing has been very difficult because they're still all over it.
The viewer named Show Me asks, until recently the spread between the spot price of gold and futures was around $8. But since the last Fed hike, the spread has only been a couple of dollars. Why the change, and is it significant in any way going forward?
Excuse me. Well, all they can say is if you ever get into backwardization where the front months are higher than the back months, that's a big deal. It's almost never happens in the precious metals. And in regular commodities, when you have shortages and there's real demand, you go into backwardization. The front months lead the way up. Normally, the gold and silver markets are related to interest rates and that sort of thing, so that they call it a contango, where the back months are always higher than the front months. But there is some talk of these, and when we get into the spot month of London, where there has been some backwardization of late. So we need to keep an eye on that.
Here's a question or observation from Rhaegar4830. Says, I don't understand why anyone would sell their gold and silver for paper money. If no one is accepting paper money anymore, wouldn't one just make their large purchases by trading precious metals for land, houses, etc.?
The other assets have taken off already. Gold and silver are still cheap. So look what the different assets have done over the past 8 to 10 years. Gold and silver haven't gone anywhere, and with interest rates being where they are now, I think there's a stampede coming into gold and silver like we've never seen before. The U.S. retail market is still dead. There's really little interest. And you can understand why, because the stock market keeps going to all-time highs all the time. And other assets have done extremely well also. And every time gold starts to go up, the gold cartel knocks it down. Silver at 1750 has been the dog of dogs for, 8 years. That's a long time. That's all going to change. I'm sure of it. But, we need some more upside action to do that.
We have a question from Larry IK1211 who says, the word on the street is that the world's central banks have been purchasing multiple tons of gold over the last 2 years. Who is supplying the market with that kind of volume?
Well, it's just coming from the normal sellers. I know there's a lot of news about China and Russia doing a lot of buying, and there's some other central banks that have stepped up to the plate, and that's the reason that gold has moved up from where it was, because the gold cartel, if they would have kept it below 1350 if they could have, and it's exactly that kind of buying that's moved up the price, and it's a good point. That's one of the reasons the gold price is $300 higher than it was last year.
Keith Lau asks, can we have a 2008 event if the world central banks give banks unlimited funds?
Well, that's what they're trying to prevent, and that's where it comes in, of having all this money available. They know what happens. They have experience with it now. They know what has to be done. They're petrified of a panic, and the question is, what would happen if that is occurring? If people can see we should be having a crash, or markets are tanking, money's going to go into gold and silver. And then if they prop the stock markets up with all sorts of money and that sort of stuff, oh my gosh, what are gold and silver going to do?
We've got a question from Raymond White who says, what is the best way to sell your precious metals once the time comes? Coin dealer, mail them in, or other?
Well, I'm prejudiced. My brother Tim works for Scottsdale Bullion and Coin, and they're honest, good people, and I think they're a legitimate way to go. Or another representative coin dealer that doesn't charge too much over the spot prices, or either way.
Well, Bill, if people want to find out more of your work and the work of your partner at GATA.org, the Gold Antitrust Action Committee, where can they find it?
Well, then go to GATA.org. Chris Powell, my colleague, does a great job, and get on his list. And Le Metropole Cafe has been going for 21 years, and you can sign up for a 2-week free trial and see if what I put out there every day is of value to you.
Thanks, Bill. We've been speaking with Bill Murphy, the co-founder of the Gold Antitrust Action Committee. And Bill, before we let you go, can you stick around for just a minute for another bonus question for our Patreon supporters?
Absolutely.
And folks, if you are not yet a Patreon supporter of our channel, we really need your help because even some of our most recent videos have been flagged as not advertiser friendly and been demonetized on our YouTube platform, which means we're completely dependent on you to help us be able to continue this and to cover the costs of bringing you these videos. So go to patreon.com/reluctantpreppers, and any amount of donation will get you immediate access to lots of bonus content from most of our visitors that we have on our channel. So thanks, Bill, and we'll talk to you again next time.
Thank you, Dunnigan. Appreciate it.
Hey, Reluctant Preppers, if you want to hear more bonus footage from other guests we've had on, come on over right now to patreon.com/reluctantpreppers and access that bonus footage there. Take care.
It seems so hard to order. Who can I trust and how do I even start?
Oh, you just go to sdbullion.com/rp, pick out whatever gold or silver you want, add it to your cart, you can check out, and it's on its way. And they're A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau.
Wow, it's that easy?
Your first ounce of silver is at spot price, and you get free shipping on any order over $99 at sdbullion.com/rp.
After I order gold or silver, how can I trust I'm going to get it? And I don't want everybody to know that I'm ordering gold and silver.
Oh, it's okay. It's fully insured, it's trackable, and you have to sign for it, so nobody else is going to get it but you. And it comes discreetly packaged. If you order a small amount, like maybe gold, it'll probably come in a box that looks something like this. Okay. And if you order a large amount, maybe like silver, it'll come in a box that looks something like this.
Wow.
But it doesn't say gold or silver on there. It might say something industrial or something else like that, but nobody's going to know what you ordered.
Oh, that's great to know.
Your first ounce of silver is at spot price, and you get free shipping on any order over $99 at sdbullion.com/rp.
If I own gold or silver, how will I ever be able to spend it?
Oh, sure. Well, consider good times or bad times. Like in good times, you can sell it back to the same place you bought it from. sdbullion.com/rp will buy it back at the best price guaranteed on the internet. You can take it to a local coin shop and get cash in your hand, completely anonymous. Some people you know may be willing to take gold or silver coins in exchange for goods or services. Now, in bad times, when things have really fallen apart, time after time in history, people have found that in hard times, gold and silver really does come through as something that people recognize as value even after everything else has failed. Your first ounce of silver is at spot price, and you get free shipping on any order over $99 at sdbullion.com/rp.
What if gold or silver drop in price after I order it?
Well, everything fluctuates with time, but nothing has held up longer and better than gold and silver throughout all the changes that have happened in history. Your first ounce of silver is at spot price, and you get free shipping on any order over $99 at sdbullion.com/rp.
What good does gold do me anyway? I can't use it for anything.
Well, I think I found a form you might appreciate.
Wow. That's beautiful. Wow, I can wear that just about anywhere.
And you can take it with you through airport security and across borders. It's small and compact and lightweight, and you can even hand it down through generations. Your first ounce of silver is at spot price, and you get free shipping on any order over $99 at sdbullion.com/rp. Reluctant Preppers provides educational awareness and commentary only. Opinions expressed do not constitute personalized financial advice. Viewers are encouraged to do their own research and seek qualified personal financial consultation before making investment decisions.